And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are, Red Blur Gaming. We've done our live stream. Dylan Woods was the winner of the... my brain wants to function for a second. Dylan Woods was the winner of the prize for the 250 subs. We will run one for the 500, which we are currently sitting at, ladies and gentlemen, sitting at 131 subs, and I would like to thank those who joined the live stream and actually subbed. It was great fun. I appreciate it. We will go live again probably tomorrow morning. Right now, I'm just going to quickly run through doing a little bit of painting. I got some weathering I want to do on a particular model, so hopefully you can see. We'll get into that. We'll probably do a little bit more on the krootox, which is in a couple of pieces. But first up, let's get the basing on this bad boy, and let's rip into it. First off, we are actually looking for the brush we used to do this, because I had a set brush for it that was, there it is, a shitty brush. Just a shitty old brush, and didn't have to worry too hard, but yeah, there we go. Let's start to get this basing on here. Sorry if my hands are in the way. As you can see, we are just scooping out this and getting it on there, and as you can see, I have two magnets on there, which is to help it magnetize to the metal trays that are in the case that I own, which is a great case. I definitely need to figure out some more storage options so that, you know, I can put different armies or have all of the models packed away in some nice, neat storage options. I currently don't have any room for display shelving, which I would love to do in future. And that would also enable me to be able to, you know, do some... But there we go, look at that. Fixed, finished, done. 30 seconds. Fastest bit of basing that has been completed this side of the Midwest. That's a silly joke, but anyway, as you can see, life is sorted. We need to actually get in, and I think I will be doing some before I do anything else. I'm just going to grab a bunch of these bloody, what I call earbuds, because we have a buttload of panel lining to complete. So I'm just going to get into it and not hesitate, because we're going to build a new list. The list I ran over the weekend, which is the second time I've run this list now. I wasn't overly happy with the way it played. It didn't really go with how I wanted it to go. If you haven't watched the live stream, out of the 5 games I've played at the tournament, which is how many there is to play, I went good job there. I went what I would consider to be dismal, but really it's probably not. Again, I'm not playing a Tau army that's supposed to be crash hot, but I went 2 and 1, 2 and 3, 2 and 1. Like, I wish it was 2 and 1. It would be great. 3 games. That's almost. So yeah, I went 2 and 3. Not overly happy with how those games went. On some of them, a little bit hard. Tau is not the greatest army to run with, in particular in that format, scenario, well, experimental is anyway. I really think experimental was not the way to go. It was not doing what I'd hoped or anticipated, to be honest. I thought it would go a lot better than it did, but unfortunately it didn't. And as I said, that's just how it is, how the cookie crumbles, as per you would say. If you were talking about it in certain terms, which is slightly annoying. Whoops, that's way too much on there. Yeah, I expected it to go a hell of a lot differently. Well, I was hoping, not expecting. There was a few games there I thought I might have been up to two, just slightly better in. That just wasn't the case, and sometimes that's just, as all the fun people like to say, that's the way the cookie crumbles. It was definitely not what I was anticipating, hoping for. Definitely wanted the games to go a little bit more my way, which would have been, to be honest, would have been friggin' amazing. But, as they say, beggars can't be choosers. I definitely had an absolute blast. I can't say that I didn't have any. Not like I did at being open, where I had a little bit of frustration in terms of one particular detachment, which, you can't blame. The person I played was definitely not to blame for how that game went. Their detachment was designed to do that. It just was super effective against Tau. And look, to be honest, that was a little frustrating how effective it was against Tau. It sucks when you get your whole army basically nerfed into oblivion in terms of not being able to use your army rule. But, as I said for those games, props to the bloke who was running the army. Like, he knew what he was doing. He knew his army's strengths and weaknesses. It enabled him to do what he needed to do to make his army work the way it was supposed to work. He played it the way it was going to play, ensuring that it disabled my army. And that is what strategic games are about. If you get rules that can upset your opponent, well, not upset, you're not there to make people angry, but to turn off their army and really unsettle the way they're playing, then you're doing your job because your army is functioning the way you've set it out to function. And congratulations, because that's just, as I said, it's exactly how the game is supposed to play. Like, you're supposed to be able to run your army in a manner that is how it's supposed to work, and it's supposed to do certain things, and that's exactly what Tyranids were supposed to do. They were supposed to be extremely hard to fight and kill, and they were. And there is literally nothing I could do that would change how that was supposed to go, and that's just the way it is. I'm still just amazed by how good that army was in terms of doing that. It's like one of the coolest rules I've seen. It really, upset the way things are, and that's what you're supposed to have, supposed to see. Things aren't supposed to be boring. Games are meant to be interesting and a little bit of fun, and that's, to be honest, that's what we got. We got a little bit of fun. We got interesting. We got, I'm not supposed to go through a game and be like, oh, this is easy, I'm smashing this, I'm killing this. You know, I'm supposed to have moments in a game where I'm not sure what's going on because my opponent is playing so well. And that's how games are supposed to be, and that's how you get better at what you're doing. It's how you learn. And you know, I'm never going to be as frustrated as I was again because, hey, he played the game the way the game was supposed to be played as a good sport, and you know, there's nothing that I could say that, you know, I can't say anything negative because there was literally no negative experience. It wasn't, you know, wasn't Joey's fault at all. His army did what he needed it to do, and again, as I said, like, hats off to the man for understanding how his army worked and like knowing what he needed to do to really upset my army. And yeah, like, full props. I think the bloke was an absolute legend. But yeah, it just is what it is. But yeah, there's literally nothing I can do or say or anything. It just, you know, give the man his dues, which is what he deserves because he played an exceptional game. And that was that. But yeah, I'm probably still going on. It sounds like I'm salty, but I'm not, because I think the bloke was an absolute gem of a bloke anyway. And super friendly, and yeah. So yeah, so RapCon was hilarious as always. I wanted to be the Retillionaire, but unfortunately, my army is probably not at the point where it could do that kind of frustrating damage to an opponent's army. It definitely has, my army definitely has its moments with its abilities to do stuff, but to be honest, it was very much few and far between for experimental prototype cadre. It just did not work the way I was hoping for it to. I think I know that I will be changing to something a little different, which will most likely be a retaliation cadre, which I have a list in front of me of what I'm going to run, which I will read out in a second, because I've just got to spin this bad boy around. So I'm looking at running the list in the following format. Farsight, Shadow Sun, 2 Cold Stars, which I already have, 2 Commanders, which I've got to build. I've got them, and I need another Ghost Killer. I want to run 3 Broadsides, which I'm in the process of building one. 2 Fire Knife squads, 2 Storm Forward squads, and 1 Star Scythe. So Star Scythes are already built. The Fire Knife, second Fire Knife squad is on the table, as you can see right in front of us. Vespid I've got, Crude I've got, Painted Based. I'm not a huge amount of models away from it. I have Pathfinder squad. I'm pretty sure I have a spare sprue for Pathfinder, or full Pathfinder squad, that I'm probably going to have to build from scratch, which I might do. Because it might make life a little easier in terms of being able to, like, take arms off models where you paint. I find that painting arms separately to the bodies is quite a lot easier. And given that the process I used for the path for the Fire Warriors, running the same sort of paint scheme will make it super quick, so I already know what I'm doing. So, look, this has got until April, probably earlier than that. I have seen a tournament in Wagga Wagga that a couple of the boys are interested in going to, which could be something on the cards for me, maybe. As I said, I have to get these guys done. We've got the other Fire Knife squad on the deck right here, right now, with the ability to paint it. So what we'll do is rip into painting that per se, and then that will obviously click off another thing. The broadside, I've got to finish putting him together. He's half together, the body and the legs, so that's got to be primed. And then I can work on painting that, because I will not glue the arms on. I'll do what I did with the last one. Actually, I'll do what I haven't done yet, and I will separate the arms and the torso and legs to make it heaps easier to paint all three parts together. I'll end up most likely gluing the legs to the base, because that was quite easy to do and not hard to deal with, and then I'll paint. I'm going to go back through my actual army and grab the models and start to... Sorry, just mixing my Vallejo white because it started to separate. Start working on battle damage. I want to start doing that, so I'll get some little black marks on them, run some silver over it, probably try and go with some edge highlighting maybe, and getting some extra shadows in, possibly looking at some freehand. I don't know about weathering. I don't think I have to worry about that, because I've got the models are painted in a certain manner, so maybe a little bit of like weathering can be added to them. I do have some titanium white pigments, which I've got to figure out how to use. I'm not 100% sure. I've got to figure that out. Just to add it in to get some extra stuff done. Maybe expand on my basing a little bit with some extra pieces, be it rocks or more grass, just to try and break the terrain up a little bit, because it's plain white. But yeah, I will be aiming to do a few bits and pieces on a few models, make them a little bit nicer, change the style, just try and get some stuff to make them look a little more advanced, so that, yeah, when I go around to getting my next lot of judging done, they look a little bit more impressive, and maybe I score a little higher, because that's the aim of the game, is to score bigger. Better paint score means higher at the overall, especially if you get marked out of a score of so many, and then you get 1,000 added for good sport, and then you get 1,000 added max for painting. Unless you obviously win any of the competitions with painting, you get extra added to your paint score. But if you're gonna score 1,000 on those two, it's at least 2,000 to start with, and then you hopefully I can have a couple of games where I score a touch higher. I scored 2 games where I scored 50. I would have loved to have scored 60 or 70. There was a game I scored 70 that could have gone to 80 with some better management of my scoring, which would have allowed for, then again, you start winning a few more games and you go from 2-3 to 3-2 to, that's me, holy crap, to 4-1. And look, some people win massively and they score 100 and others don't. The closer you can get to 100, the better, because then, you're looking at a score out of 2,500 plus, maybe if you win the paint score, you get an extra 100 tacked onto your score, so 2,600 total. It makes a big difference. I think I scored wrong in one of my games, and even then that would have bumped me up the leaderboard, 5 or 6 places just off 5 points. So getting that extra 300 points on scoring and the overall terms of game finishes, that pushes me up a lot higher. Even if you get that mid-range, maybe I get 850 as a paint score rather than 1,000. Those extra 150 points make a big deal. But as you can see, I've now panel lined all of those models, and then I'll go through shortly in the next video and start painting colours. But as for now, that is me. So see you in the next one. Bye for now.